You've got $100,000 and 2 months to kill on a vacation. What's your plan? Before you start, post how you would spend your vacation in the comments. Enjoy the show. Story 1. I'm heli-skiing in Revelstoke for 50 days straight and living in my car on beans and rice. My legs will either be bloody stumps or as big as an East German track cyclist. Story 2. I'm picking out my favorite bands that are currently touring and planning a luxury road trip surrounding those tour dates and locations. Plush hotels or rental of nice RVs at each phase. See 6. 8 shows all in 2 months would be dope. Story 3. Probably pay for a cruise to Antarctica, preferably one where we're allowed DD to actually get on the continent. If not, then an all-inclusive trip to Japan, and I'll sleep every night into one of those classic ryokans. Story 4. Assuming I have to finish the money, I'd travel to every country I want to visit, stay at luxurious hotels when they're there, fly RVs to destinations that don't have them. If I still have money left over by the end of the 2 months, then I'd fly to Amsterdam and blow it all at the Red District LMV. Story 5. I work in custom travel planning. 100K over 2 months works out to about 3K a day, which would be comfortably enough to get you almost any top luxury resorts, lodges, safaris, or cruises, but not so much that you could pick the best room in all of them or splurge out on inconvenient dates. That budget will also disappear shockingly fast if you're doing any significant flying in first class. If you want to blow it all in a weekend, go to Rio over New Year's. LOL, yeah, that math real bad. 160ths is more like 6K/day, which is enough to pick almost wherever you want to go and do most things. But if you wanted to top shelf it the entire time, you'd have to be mindful about destination and pace route choices. Story 6. Flight for 2 to South Africa. Spend some time there, safari, wine touring. Rovo's luxury train from Cape Town to Dar es Salaam. Fly to the Med, charter a catamaran for 2 weeks and adventure around Croatia and Italy. Finish with a road trip from the south of France, through Burgundy, and wrapping up in Paris. Fly home. Unfortunately, that might even go over budget. Story 7. Take the luxury train from Vancouver to Toronto, then cruise down the Mississippi from St. Paul to New Orleans, then fly to Europe and explore the continent via train. I would bring my friends and family with me too, obviously. Story 8. Fly into Florida with friends and family, rent some jet skis and a boat, ride them to the Bahamas. Stay a few nights in the best rooms, gamble a bit and ride back. Maybe throw in some fishing on a private boat. Go up to Orlando and visit the theme parks. Fly home. Story 9. Flight to NYC, a week at a decent hotel, a driver service, and all the new foods I can eat. Also, all the museums. Then a train ride home and spend the next month and a half figuring out what I need to set aside for taxes, pay off debts, and go car shopping. Story 10. 2 months and 100K? Easy. Start with a private jet to Iceland for some tranquil solitude in the Blue Lagoon. From there, hop over to New Zealand for a Lord of the Rings tour and bungee jumping in Queenstown. Maybe toss in a quick jaunt up to Japan for sushi made by Jiro himself. Head west to Egypt to experience the pyramids at sunrise. If funds allow, finish with a space tourism flight to see Earth from above. And if there's a penny left, donate it to a local charity in every country visited to spread the love. Story 11. With $100,000 and 2 months to spare, I'd plan an epic round-the-world trip, hitting up my bucket list destinations. I'd start with a leisurely tour of Europe, exploring historic cities, indulging in delicious cuisine, and soaking up the culture. Then, I'd head to Southeast Asia for some adventure, with stops in Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia for beach hopping, jungle trekking, and temple hopping. Finally, I'd finish off with a relaxing retreat in the South Pacific, perhaps in Fiji or Tahiti, to unwind and recharge before heading back home. Story 12. I'd spend 2 weeks in Los Angeles going to Disneyland, the other amusement park, and going to the Universal Studios and trying out all types of restaurants, street vendors, and whatnot. Spend another 2 weeks in Florida to go to Disney World and Orlando Universal Studios and go to that big golf course on the west coast of Florida. And for the next month, I would just hop around to do different things around the country, like the big museum in, I think, Washington, D.C., the Aerospace Museum or whatever it's called. Also go to the Smithsonian, and maybe go to Hawaii. But I don't know what I would do in Hawaii, so maybe not Hawaii. Oh, I go to the America's biggest mall and to the Super Goodwill in Sacramento. I would just do a lot of random shit after the theme parks. Story 13, Brit here. I'd fly to Las Vegas for the NRL, Australian rugby event that's taking place early March next year, and spend about 10 days there. I'd go on to LA after that, pause San Fran, and then fly to New Orleans. I'd then fly to wherever WrestleMania is taking place. I'm not into WWE, but WrestleMania is on my bucket list. I'd then fly to Florida and spend a week or so, possible longer at, in no particular order, Cocoa Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and Key West, and go on a cruise from one of the Florida ports around the Caribbean. I may even do 2 cruises. Fuck it. Then I'd attend the Rockville Festival at Daytona Beach. I would then most likely accidentally on purpose lose my passport in the sea. Story 14. Spending it with my family back home. Travel with them and spend money on them. After about half gone, I'll take my BF to join us. Thinking about going to Japan or Korea, then Europe to see snow. I came from a tropical country, so some of my siblings and all my nephew and nieces have never seen snow Errol. Story 15. Probably a nice fly fishing trip to Patagonia for 5 days. All the fancy shit. Helicopter drops into the finest trout fishing spots and private chefs with nightly wine pairings. All leftover money goes to a local charity I love. And there would be $80K left for that. What a dream. Story 16. Chartered surf trip with my buddies and their wives, GFs, throughout some lesser-known islands in Indonesia. Someone to cook all the fish we catch and drive us to perfect waves on a comfortable boat. A photographer and video guy also. Oh, and a fresh 4-board quiver for all the boys. Story 17. Japan. Full country tour, but not like an American tourist. I want to embrace the culture respectfully. I want to learn Japanese, or enough to be respectful and get around easily while I'm there. I want to shed as much Western culture from myself and just be fully appreciative of such a beautiful country. Visit temples and some of the more rural locations not many travelers go. I want to meet as many people as I can and possibly listen and share stories. I've always been fascinated with traditional Japanese culture, and although I hear the major cities like Tokyo or Osaka are very modern and kind of westernized, I want to go. I just think it would be one of the most memorable and fascinating places I could ever visit. Story 18. Explore as many ancient cities and historical sites as possible starting in Knossos, and I'll probably finish flying over the Nazca lines in Peru. I'd spend 25000 for 2 weeks in Greece, 20000 for 2 weeks in Italy, tour some of Europe 30000 for 2 weeks, and then spend the rest touring South American jungles like I'm Indiana Jones. Added bonus will be having an ayahuasca experience. Story 19. I want to see every inch of Greece. I want to spend weeks in the countryside, on the coast, on a boat. I want to see and experience it all. I want to eat fresh-caught seafood al fresco on a yacht, while the breeze cools my skin. I want to sail out to the middle of the sea and swim with the fish. I want to learn all I can and experience everything there could possibly be about that country. I want to see the crumbling temples of ancient gods and goddesses and feel the history of all who came before me. I have no idea why. Been landlocked stateside my whole life, but I have always been fascinated with both Greece and Rome. More so Greece, though. I think I could drain that $100K pretty well just on the yacht trip alone. Story 20. Reading the comments, I was like, why is everyone going on the vacation first? It's easier to kill someone first and then go on vacation. Now I see that I have 2 months of time to kill on a vacation. Oops. I'd probably go to Vietnam first. BC, my BF is from there, and I know he'd want to visit them again. Then I'll go to Thailand, AMD, Taiwan, spend a bunch of time there, and go back home with the rest of the money. Story 21. Assuming that money can only be spent on the vacation, and I can't spend 5-10K on a vacation, pay off my student loans, and save the rest for retirement, then probably avoid making a too specific plan ahead of time, but just kind of meander around. If I were to guess, though I might change my mind partway through, that'd look like fly out to Yellowstone for a bit. When I get bored, hop on a cruise somewhere maybe. Then make a list of countries, regions of the world paired with the average rating boring white guys give their food, and pick one to visit for a bit randomly, weighted by that rating, until I run out of time or money. Way I figure it, 2 months is 8 weeks, and that's 12. 5K a week, which ought to be enough for most places I'd want to visit even on short notice and staying in ridiculously priced places. So why plan too much? Also, the things that can get expensive things, gambling, drugs, etc., have no appeal to me whatsoever. I'm cool be lazy on a cruise boat, or wander around local culture or stare at nature. That's about the extent of luxury, vice I'm interested in. Story 22. I'd probably do some true once-in-a-lifetime experience sort of stuff, like seeing remote groups in South America, spending a generous amount of time on a Pacific island alone, hiking mountains, etc. Most vacations I can think of are pretty much within my economic grasp anyway, as I'm not one for super luxury. So I'd rather have that money spent on experiences, that are exclusive. Story 23. I hope you're ready for an essay. First and foremost, finish the paint project I've been working on my car with the first couple days. Shoot the shit at home for a week so the clear coat can dry. Then I'd take a grand tour of my home state. I live in Utah, so that would keep me pretty busy for about a couple weeks. With the remaining time, I'd go on a road trip to all the places from my childhood that I have few memories of. I'm talking Shedd Aquarium, Museum of Science and Industry, and Field Museum in Chicago, my old hometown of Knoxville, Atlanta, Kenosha, and the areas surrounding them. As the vacation draws to a close, I'll take Route 66 on my way home. I've always heard it's a beautiful drive, and I feel like that new memory would be a good segue from my nostalgia-based vacation to my current state of affairs back home. Story 24. Fly into Los Angeles and spend a day or so there in preparation for a flight to Tokyo. Get to Tokyo, explore the city for a week, travel around the rest of the country for 10 days before flying to Indonesia. I would stay at a nice resort for a couple of days before hopping on a boat and exploring the Raja Ampat Islands whilst scuba diving. I would come back to Indonesia and then make my way over to French Polynesia, where I would relax for 4 days. After that, I would fly into Australia. I would immediately go to the Great Barrier Reef and go diving for 3 days or so. After that, I would travel down the eastern coast of Australia and enjoy the beaches and nature. I would then go to New Zealand and do the Hobbiton tour for a few days, along with any other Lord of them the Rings tourism before I settled down to hunt a red stag. After that, I would spend the rest of my time enjoying the beauty of New Zealand for 5 days. Some would be lazy days, some would be exploring. I would then fly back to Sydney and enjoy 2 days before coming back to my home after having the adventure of a lifetime. Story 25. East Coast trip after flying there first class. Home base will be NYC in an upscale, not extravagant place. Probably $500 or $600 a night. Then do the following activities. Shop. So much shopping. Spas and saunas. Lots of Broadway. Lots of baseball games. A week in D.C. visiting museums and my congressmen women. Spend a day at Arlington meditating and paying respects. Get to know the locals and find the coolest places and people. Really live the experience. Do community service and help others. Visit upstate New York. Story 26. I guess I would visit the places that are on my to-visit list. I'm not super into traveling, so I guess I would do few countries. USA, Cali, Japan, New Zealand, Australia. Stay in nice hotels, buy shit without thinking, do some nice activities there, see what each country got to offer for a week, try the best restaurants there, all accompanied by my girlfriend. Then for the rest, I would fly to Amsterdam, get super nice hotel, do basically the same things just there for the rest of the time. I think I could even save some money. Story 27. I would start in the middle of January by going to Bali and take a week to relax. Then I'll visit my step-family on Java and make a trip to Sulawesi, as I've already seen a lot of islands but not yet Sulawesi. After 4 weeks, I'll leave Indonesia and spend 2.5 weeks in Thailand by traveling around for seeing touristic highlights, and at the end, taking a break for a few days. As then, 2.5 weeks are left, I go to Japan. I start off in the southwest and slowly make my way towards Tokyo, and intend to see several attractions with blossoming trees, but also to enjoy the food, the culture, the trains. I took into account, though, that blossoming could start relatively early due to climate change. Story 28. I would go to Japan and stay for most of the time in an onsen hotel with a private hot spring. I explore that area, eat delicious sushi, spend some time meditating and doing interesting things, meeting people, doing stuff outside my comfort zone, meditating. Maybe spend the last month there. The first month I'd go to Korea for a bit, maybe down to Vietnam, the Philippines, Thailand, China, India. Mostly, it's about the food. I want to try all the local cuisines of all those countries, see some sights, the countryside. I could spend about 5 days in each. Story 29. I'll be visiting a couple of cities around the world, staying in nice suites in 4/5 stars hotels. I would change my cell phone plan to an international one. I would hire a personal luxury travel agent. They'll plan everything for me. I don't have any stress, any worries. I will only fly first class. I prefer that to private jet because I love the attention from the flight attendants and meeting new people. At my destination, there will always be a car to pick me up, with a personal local guide that speaks my language. I will have the chance to explore the city by myself for as long as I want, meeting new people, trying new foods, feeling the vibes of the places, living it. Back at the hotels, I will be able to relax and enjoy all the facilities they have. Nice pool, hot tub, massages, comfortable bed and shower, and the stunning view, of course. Some places I'd love to visit, so it would be from this pool. Iceland, the UK, Norway, Italy, Greece, Turkey, Tanzania, India, Indonesia, Japan, New Zealand, Peru, and Brazil. Story 30. Probably enjoy a drive through America or maybe just my own state, Texas. Staying in cheap-ass motels and just seeing the interesting local spots in the countryside. Visit some bars and buy rounds for the whole bar and then breeze out of town the next morning. Sounds relaxing. Story 31. I'ma hit Japan and a few other spots in Asia, get the nicest hotels and experiences. Then I'd take a nice 1-week cruise across England, then fly back to the States and cruise the Caribbean and have an amazing time. With my extra time and money, I'd probably go blow it at a casino if I couldn't take it with me or only use it during the vacation. Story 32. Luxury hotel and resort trip around a large country with lots to see and do, like the US, China, or India. Let's say that I choose the US. I then start in a top 5-star luxury hotel in New York City, probably with a view of Central Park, and do all the cool, expensive stuff there is to do in NYC. Including dining at some of the finest restaurants and rooftop bars. Could also take a couple of days to see the Niagara Falls again. After that, I head to DC for some sightseeing, also based out of a luxury hotel. After that, I head to Florida for a great time in Miami and Orlando, as well as some crocodile tour and quality time on luxury beach resorts. I also spend at least a week in the best hotel in Disney World and Universal Studios. Also super keen to see the NASA stuff there. I then head to the Grand Canyon, maybe with a private plane or helicopter tour of the canyon. Las Vegas is a next logical destination from there. I try my hand at some casino games. With a limited stack of cash I don't mind losing, just for the experience alone, all in luxury. California is a next logical destination after that, with all the stuff to do in Los Angeles, San Francisco, etc. I definitely do some fine living in Hollywood. Hawaii would be one of the best chapters of the entire vacation. I'd fly first class there and really go wild. Especially can't wait for all the volcano tours, beach resort stays, and guided hikes in the jungles. Cue on then coming back to the mainland for Yellowstone National Park. Maybe some mountain stuff in Washington, all kinds of other things I'd have missed like Mount Rushmore, etc. I'd also stop by random cities to meet friends and relatives. You get the picture. I'd be surprised if I could even do it all on $100K in 2 months. I might need $200K. If I bring my wife. Story 33. First of all, I would avoid places like Singapore, Dubai, and etc. Due to the amount of wealthy people there, your $100K wouldn't get you special treatment. You would just be another customer person there. Now that is out of the way. I would visit multiple countries that are closer to each other and would focus on the experience and cuisine in that country. Here is how I would budget it. $15K for business class flights to 3 different countries. Something like Japan, Thailand, New Zealand. $15K for cuisine, which includes fine dining and premium alcohol pairing every 3 days. Lunch and dinner. I wouldn't do it every day because most people will get tired of it. Casual food, snacks, and drinks to get the local experience. I would pre-book the restaurants and arrange my trip according to food because I love traveling for food. $25K for premium hotels, specifically Marriott Bonvoy hotels for me, because I would rack up 60 nights to get platinum membership, which I save for future use, and perhaps exchange points for flights/hotel stay in the future after 2 months. Unless there are specific hotels like ryokans in Japan, I would stick with a luxury hotel group. $10K for transportation. Sometimes you'll want private transportation. Sometimes you need to get on ferries. Sometimes you just want to hop on public transportation to soak in the local culture. $5K for activities, be it exotic, expensive, cheap, or whatever. $5K should be enough to last me 60 days because I will not be doing activities every day, probably every 3-4 days, and sometimes the activities could be cheap, like $20. Sometimes it could be $200. $15K for buying things, regardless of where I go. I usually buy some luxury goods like Louis Vuitton sneakers, maybe save some money for local luxury goods. $15K is not a lot, but it scratches the itch throughout the 60 days to buy a couple items in the luxury department. Maybe some meaningful souvenirs at the places I visit too. $10K for high-end private tour guide, concierge butler service. My wife does this for work, so it is actually well worth it for people with money to spend. You pretty much can get whatever and whenever, and they will arrange it for you. 10K is for part of the trip because I want to experience the country for myself. 10K will probably last you around 2 weeks for this kind of service. 5K, remainder money to splurge on whatever I want impulsively.